Today, we are pulling from a really fascinating stack of sources, bridging quantum mechanics, cognitive philosophy, and some cutting-edge observational astrophysics.
Right, which sounds heavy, but it's actually about something you experience all the time.
Exactly. We're going to dismantle something that you probably take for granted every single second. I mean, your own reality.
Yet we are embarking on this custom-tailored thought experiment today to look at the universe, not just through the cold, hard math of physics, but through the lens of human consciousness.
And the stakes for this deep dive are surprisingly personal.
Oh, for sure. The documents we're analyzing today, they treat the universe not just as some passive collection of matter, but as an interactive construct.
Right.
It's an exploration of how your intellect actually engineers the space and time you navigate every day.
Okay, let's unpack this. The setup for this thought experiment is just brilliant.
It really is.
We are going to look through a series of increasingly powerful imaginary telescopes. So, we start down here in the physical world, on a freezing mountaintop, and by the end of this journey, we're going to place you entirely outside of the universe itself.
Which is a wild ride.
Yeah, so let's jump right in. Imagine I hand you an incredibly powerful telescope. You are standing on a high, freezing mountain peak at midnight. You point it up.
And that immediately establishes a baseline contrast between the macro, the cosmos, and the micro, which is humanity.
Right.
Because simply shifting your perspective like that fundamentally alters your physical reality.
Yeah, so you look through the lens, and Jupiter isn't just a bright dot in the sky anymore. It becomes this massive swirling marble.
It becomes real.
Exactly. You can see its great red spot, which is a storm larger than our entire planet that's just been churning for centuries, surrounded by these subtle, glowing gas rings. And then you pan the telescope over to Saturn, and its icy rings look like a brilliant diamond necklace spinning in the absolute dark. I mean, everything up there moves with this quiet, majestic dignity.
But then you take that exact same telescope and point it down the mountain, back at Earth.
And the contrast is jarring. Everything you know, sprawling cities, towering skyscrapers, giant ancient forests, they just become these flat, mossy patches.
Right.
It's like zooming way, way out on Google Earth until your whole neighborhood and all the stressful errands you have to run today just become a single, meaningless green smudge.
Yeah, the entire human race and all our daily anxieties, they just vanish into dust. And it really highlights a beautiful contradiction in how we perceive scale.
How so?
Well, if you put humanity under a microscope and look at the extreme micro level, a single atom looks like a massive galaxy of vibrating energy.
Right, the spaces between the electrons are vast.
Exactly. But here, looking from the macro perspective, the massive, dense human world shrinks into absolute nothingness. The sheer physical volume of the cosmos reduces human struggles to just like a rounding error.
It is incredibly humbling, but we aren't stopping on the mountain.
Yeah, we're going further.
We are moving this telescope to the moon. The atmosphere is completely gone, so there's no atmospheric distortion. Perfect silence, perfect clarity.
The ultimate vantage point.
Right. You look back and Earth is just a fragile blue marble, but you turn around and look deep into space, and the physics of what you see start to get really intense. You see the accretion disks of black holes.
Yeah, specifically, let's picture Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole anchoring the center of our Milky Way galaxy.
The big one.
Right, the big one. You obviously can't see the singularity itself since, not even light escapes it, but your telescope captures the violent physics surrounding it.
Which is just chaotic.
Oh, completely. You see dust and gas being ripped apart, whipping around the event horizon at a fraction of the speed of light. The friction is so intense that it glows with blinding X-rays.
And then you pan over and see stellar nurseries like the pillars of creation, glowing in vibrant pinks and greens as gravity crushes gas clouds into brand new baby stars.
It's stunning.
It is. You even see gravitational lensing in action.
Oh, I love that concept.
Yeah, that's where the mass of a giant galaxy cluster is so heavy it literally warps the fabric of space-time, bending the light of other galaxies behind it like a massive cosmic funhouse mirror.
Right, and weaving through all of it are these invisible rivers of dark matter, holding the visible universe together with extra gravity we can't even see.
But the wildest part of this lunar vantage point isn't just what you are seeing, it's when you are seeing it.
Ah, the time delay.
Yes, because light has a cosmic speed limit, about 186,000 miles per second. It takes time to travel.
It does.
So looking deep into space inherently means we're looking at the past history of the universe. Which really makes me wonder, If looking at the stars is literally looking into the past, are we just surrounded by ghosts of dead stars?
Basically, yeah, you are absolutely looking at a fossil record made of photons. I mean, if you see a galaxy that is a billion light years away, you aren't seeing it as it exists right now.
Right.
You are seeing the light that left it a billion years ago. The star generating that light might have exhausted its fuel, gone supernova, and collapsed into a neutron star eons before humanity even existed.
But we're just seeing it now.
Exactly. That light is just now hitting your telescope lens. So the entire history of the universe is laid out before you in a single stratified glance.
That sets us up perfectly for the next leap. We've seen deep space from the moon, but the source material asks us to take this to the absolute extreme.
We're going all the way out.
We are moving you to the very center of the universe, and we are equipping you with a 360-degree ultimate telescope. It has infinite resolving power, and you can see all the way to the absolute edge of existence in every direction simultaneously.
And this is where everyday human intuition completely breaks down. Because at this ultimate cosmic scale, planets and individual stars completely disappear from view.
Wait, if we have the ultimate, most powerful telescope ever, shouldn't we see planets better? Why do they completely disappear?
What's fascinating here is it comes down to the mechanics of resolution and the geometric mirror of reality.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, think about what happens when you use an electron microscope on the human body. As you increase the magnification, you stop seeing skin or tissue. You bypass the cells entirely.
Right.
Eventually, the solid matter disappears, and you just see vast oceans of empty space punctuated by tiny vibrating dots of atomic energy.
So the spaces between the objects become more prominent than the objects themselves.
Precisely. And the exact same mechanism applies at the ultimate macro scale.
Yeah.
As you zoom out to view the entire universe at once, the space between the stars dominates.
Wow.
The massive, solid universe as we understand it dissolves. Individual galaxies shrink below the threshold of structural visibility, and they merge into what looks like glowing dust.
And that glowing dust forms a structure that astrophysicists in our sources call the cosmic web.
Yes.
You aren't seeing distinct solar systems anymore. You see billions of galaxies bound tightly together by the gravity of dark matter, forming these sprawling, glowing neon filaments.
Like a huge network.
Yeah, they stretch across the universe like a luminous nervous system. And between these threads of light are the cosmic voids, which are these massive, dark, empty expanses, millions of light years across.
And if you trace that glowing web all the way to its absolute edge, in every direction, you hit the ultimate limit of the time machine.
The dawn of time. The sources describe it as a dim, glowing wall of fire completely surrounding the universe.
Yeah, that is the cosmic microwave background. About 380,000 years after the Big Bang, the universe was a rapidly expanding, unimaginably hot soup of plasma.
Just totally chaotic.
Oh, yeah. It was so dense that light couldn't even travel. Photons were just constantly bouncing off electrons. But as it expanded, it cooled.
Right.
Eventually, electrons bound to protons to form the first atoms, and the fog cleared. That first burst of light finally escaped and has been traveling through space ever since.
Just stretching out over time.
Exactly. Its wavelength stretching out as the universe expands, cooling from a wall of fire into invisible microwaves.
So that covers the structural physics of what we see. But the philosophical core of our deep dive hinges on a massive paradox about how we experience it.
Right. The experience is key here.
Because when you look at this sprawling, violently energetic cosmic web, it feels eerily still. If we have black holes tearing apart stars and galaxies hurtling away from each other, why does it look like a Frozen painting?
It's a great question.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's like walking through a museum. The paintings are completely frozen, but your brain is burning calories at 1,000,000 miles an hour trying to interpret what the artist meant.
I love that framing. That museum analogy captures the essence of what the sources call cosmic symmetry, or the complementary principle.
Cosmic symmetry. Okay.
Yeah, it's a balancing act between the observer and the observed. Let's look at the extremes. When a physicist observes an atom, which is the microcosm, that atom is vibrating in a state of absolute chaotic frenzy.
Just buzzing everywhere.
Right. But to successfully observe it, the physicist must remain perfectly still, completely isolated from the experiment.
But when we flip the telescope to the macrocosm, to the universe, the roles reverse.
Completely. The universe appears utterly frozen. Galaxies look like motionless specks of dust suspended in glass. But the observer's mind, your cognitive processing, is racing in absolute overdrive just trying to comprehend the sheer scale of the 360-degree data.
Part of that stillness is just the illusion of immense distance, right? Like when you look up at a commercial airplane flying at 30,000 feet.
Right, exactly.
It's traveling 500 miles an hour, but from the ground, it looks like it's just crawling across the sky. When a galaxy is a billion light years away, even if it's moving at blinding speeds, it looks completely stationary to us.
The immense distance creates the visual stillness, yes. But the cognitive side is driven by what the sources call the anxiety of information.
The anxiety of information.
Yeah. Standing at the center of the universe, you are bombarding your optical nerve with the data of 2 trillion galaxies. To prevent system failure, your internal clock, your cognitive processing speed, has to accelerate to a fever pitch just to parse that overwhelming input.
Which brings us back to that complementary principle. The system always seeks equilibrium.
Always.
If the object you're studying is chaotic and fast, your mind must be quiet and still. If the object is perfectly frozen and vast, your mind has to race to fill in the gaps. Humans live constantly in that balance point.
Exactly. We navigate existence suspended precisely between the hyper-vibration of quantum mechanics and the frozen stillness of celestial mechanics.
Which triggers a profound realization in these source texts. If our mind is processing data at that velocity just to make sense of a frozen universe, we have to ask, what is the true capacity of the human intellect?
Because the philosophical argument here is that your mind isn't just a passive camera recording the universe.
Right.
It is the active architect rendering the reality you experience.
People constantly compare the human brain to computers, or even quantum computers, but that's a fundamental underestimation, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A quantum computer crunching probabilities is still just processing raw data. It requires computation time, however brief.
But the human intellect leverages consciousness and intuition. You can have a sudden flash of insight, an aha moment, and grasp the conceptual framework of the entire cosmos in a fraction of a microsecond.
Right.
A machine doesn't experience epiphanies.
So if the intellect operates with that level of spontaneous, hyper-fast conceptualization, what is it actually doing every second of your waking life?
That's the big question.
The philosophy in our sources argues that it is actively constructing the illusions of time and space.
Okay, let's look at time first. We treat time like a flowing river that we are being dragged down. But the text suggests the intellect actually renders time the way a high-end graphics card renders a video game.
That's a highly accurate way to frame it. I mean, when you play a 3D game, the graphics card is generating static images, frames, and flashing them on your screen at 60 or 120 frames per second.
Right, the game world isn't actually moving.
Exactly. Your hardware is just stitching those static frames together so fast that your brain perceives smooth, continuous motion.
The intellect does the exact same thing with physical reality. It takes static atomic moments, these isolated snapshots of the present, and stitches them together with zero lag.
Seamlessly.
Yeah. The past is just cache memory data. The future is just predictive rendering based on physics and probability. Your intellect flips between the cache memory and the predictive rendering so seamlessly that it generates the sensation of forward momentum.
It really does.
And it applies that same rendering logic to physical space.
Right. Without the processing power of your intellect, the universe is just a continuous, unbroken soup of quantum fields and dark matter.
Wow.
There are no distinct, separate objects. It's all one fabric. But your intellect imposes a boundary. It renders a subjective viewpoint. It declares, here is I, the observer. And then it declares, over there is that chair, the observed object.
It literally calculates and inserts the concept of distance between you and the chair so you can navigate the environment.
Exactly.
It defines the geometry. So basically, our intellect is the ultimate graphics card rendering a video game. If it slowed down, would the 3D world glitch out into a chaotic soup of atoms?
According to this thought experiment, yes, the 3D world you interact with is a real-time data compilation performed by your intellect.
That is wild.
It synthesizes a navigable environment out of pure energy.
Yeah.
It completely deconstructs what we conventionally label as real.
Yeah.
There's a quote from Albert Einstein cited in our sources that anchors this perfectly. He said, "Space and time are not conditions in which we live. They are modes in which we think."
Modes in which we think. That fundamentally shifts the burden of reality onto us. Because if space and time are just software modes running on our intellect's hardware, what happens if we push our imaginary telescope one step further?
The final step.
Yeah, what happens if we step completely outside the physical universe, leaving the intellect behind entirely.
Well, we finally hit the absolute limit of the physics and enter pure metaphysics. Stepping outside the universe means stepping outside the boundaries of space itself.
Meaning the geometry we just talked about, X, Y, and Z dimensions, up, down, forward, backward, none of it exists out there.
Right. Without space to act as a container, the universe doesn't have a shape. It doesn't look like a giant sphere or an egg floating in a void.
Okay.
Without spatial dimensions, the entire physical cosmos, every galaxy, every black hole, every atom we've discussed, condenses into a dimensionless single point.
A singularity. Or, as the cognitive philosophers frame it, a single thought. And because space and time are bundled together as space-time, stepping outside of space means you also step completely outside of time.
Yes.
The graphics card stops rendering frames.
The progression of time halts. The Big Bang at the dawn of the universe and the eventual heat death at the very end of it occur simultaneously. The past and future collapse into an eternal now.
So what does this all mean? If there's no body, no eyes, and our intellect has stopped processing, how can there be any seeing at all? Isn't it just nothingness?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, to understand what remains, we have to distinguish between processing data and pure awareness. The cognitive sources use an elegant analogy of a single lamp in a sealed room.
Walk me through it.
So picture a bright lamp shining in a room filled with furniture. The light bounces off the chair, the table, the walls. It illuminates distinct objects, allowing you to see them.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Now, systematically remove the objects. Take out the chair. Take out the table. Strip away the walls. The room is now an infinite empty void.
Right.
Does the lamp extinguish itself simply because there are no physical objects left to illuminate?
No, the light source is still emitting. It just doesn't have a surface to reflect off of. It's illuminating its own radiance.
Exactly. That unbroken light is pure consciousness or awareness. When you step outside the universe and your intellect powers down because there is no spatial data left to process, you do not cease to exist.
You just transition.
Right. You transition from an active processor into pure awareness. It is sight without eyes.
Because the three elements of reality, the observer, which is you, the tool of observation, your intellect, and the observed object, the universe, have all collapsed back into one unified state.
Pure consciousness is simply experiencing itself. The artificial boundaries rendered by the intellect are completely gone.
What an insane trajectory. I mean, we started this deep dive shivering on a physical mountaintop looking at Jupiter storms, and we ended up as a dimensionless point of pure awareness residing outside of time and space.
It's a rigorous mental exercise, but it proves something vital about the human condition. We are conditioned to view the physical cosmos as overwhelmingly immense, and ourselves as fragile, insignificant specks.
The mossy green smudges on Google Earth.
Exactly. But the physics and philosophy synthesized here suggest the opposite. Your inner universe, your capacity for intellect and pure awareness, is actually more expansive and operates at a higher frequency than the physical matter of the cosmos.
Every time you navigate across the room to sit in a chair, or every time you glance anxiously at your watch because you're running 5 minutes late, you aren't just existing in a pre-built world.
No, you're not.
Your boundless intellect is actively rendering that spatial distance and stitching those frames of time together, customized for you in real time. You are the structural architect of the reality you are experiencing.
You are literally generating the simulation you are walking through.
Which leaves us with one final, provocative thought to mull over. If our hyper-fast intellect is constantly stitching reality together to create the illusion of time and space, what exactly happens when that intellect powers down completely every single night when we fall into deep, dreamless sleep?
It makes you wonder.
Do we, for a few hours, step entirely outside the universe and return to that dimensionless singularity of pure awareness, only to reboot the 3D simulation the second we open our eyes in the morning? It certainly makes waking up feel a lot less like just getting out of bed and a lot more like rebuilding the cosmos from scratch. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.